Hello and welcome to Whitney Alex Works' first ever summary recap of the Australian version of The Bachelor. Let me just say that The Bachelor Australia's version is massively different from the United States version, and that, in my opinion, is actually a good thing. After watching the newest season, Australia's 10th season, I'm pretty convinced that I will be tuning into future seasons of this franchise. In all honesty, it was fun and it's cosmopolitan, which was refreshing. The 10th season was filmed in the beautiful Gold Coast, Australia, located on the east coast of the country, where the bachelors got to live in a penthouse in the tall Q1 hotel. The season premiered on January 9th, 2023, and had a total of 12 episodes, which concluded on January 29th, airing on the Australian channel Network 10. So with all of that said, this video is going to condense the entire season into a nice bite-sized summary video. So for the first time ever, there are 3 bachelors taking the Australian lead. At first it seemed strange, but the show was able to cover all 3 bachelors' journey to find love, and oddly, this format works. Again, it was very cosmopolitan, where there is a possible engagement on the line, but it seems the focus is for the bachelors to end up in a relationship with one of the contestants, but there is a possibility for an engagement, but it doesn't seem like the end-all be-all. Well, who are the Australians bachelors for 2023? Well, first up is Thomas Malucelli, a 35-year-old restaurant manager from Sydney, New South Wales. He also has Italian heritage, but Thomas currently lives in Australia. Next, we have Felix von Hoff, a 27-year-old marketing manager, sports commentator, and former professional NBL player from Melbourne, Victoria. And lastly, we have Jed McIntosh, a 25-year-old musician from Gippsland, Victoria, who is pretty eccentric but is genuine, and he is looking for a serious relationship. Each bachelor is ready to find a romantic partner, but first they have to invite 10 women into the new bachelor mansion. With host and adored member of Bachelor Nation taking the reins again, Osha Gonsberg is helping out the 3 bachelors find their special someone, and it's time to meet some of the compelling Australian ladies that catch the eye of our 3 bachelors. Each bachelor has 10 roses to hand out as they go on a lot of blind dates, all in the hopes to invite a viable pool of women to romance over the next few weeks. Let's start with our romantic Thomas. Thomas makes many connections, but he really hits it off with a few standouts. This being Kiki Joel, a marketing director from the Gold Coast, and on their blind date, Kiki asked Thomas to draw her as they both are wearing undergarments, and Thomas was so enamored with Kiki that he only drew a line, which cracked me up. He, of course, ends up asking Kiki to the mansion. Also worth noting, Thomas makes an instant connection with a woman named Leah Cummings, a makeup artist from Adelaide, South Australia, and they have their blind date dressing up formally and taking a romantic boat ride together. And Thomas is completely taken with Leah, as both get pretty emotional over such a special and remarkable first encounter with each other. Thomas, of course, ends up asking Leah to move into the mansion. And each man is on their search to hand out their roses, but poor Jed gets rejected from his first blind date, which causes him to be extremely picky for a while, but he finally loosens up when he makes a connection with Jasmine, a 24-year-old from Brisbane, and Jed gives her his first rose to invite her to the new cosmopolitan bachelor mansion. And Jed starts loosening up and makes some instant spark connections with some other women, this being Alésia, a real estate agent from Sydney, and they go ice skating together, which Alésia helps a terrified Jed out, and they end up kissing each other. He also makes an instant connection with a woman named Angela, a 25-year-old model from Melbourne, and they play tennis together, and they also share a kiss. Meanwhile, we see the third bachelor, Felix and connection as he makes an instant connection with a woman named Crystal, who both share a moment of intense chemistry where they put body paint on each other and then proceed to make out. And Felix, let's just say it, he was forward as he makes another intense connection with a woman named Tilly, where they end up making out a lot on their first blind date. And Felix is handing out roses left and right, where Jed was more conservative on who he invited to the mansion. Felix also makes a seemingly genuine first connection with a woman named Jessica, a retail worker from Townsville, Queensland. And Felix is taken back by Jess's beauty, extending her an invitation to the mansion. And with Felix handing out his roses left and right, he ends his blind date meeting a woman named Abigail Harley, who has a super cute calico cat named Minnie, who she brought to meet Felix. And Felix is really taken with Abigail and her kitty Minnie, who travels with her in a backpack, but of course there's a problem. Felix is all out of roses. He desperately calls Jed to see if he has one, and Jed does, and it's like some sort of miracle. Felix picks off a leaf from the tree and hands it to Abigail, offering her a place in the mansion. Well, let's talk about numbers. There are a total of 30 women invited to the mansion to be on the show. Thomas has 10 women, Felix has 11 women, and Jed has invited 9 women total to compete for his heart. And all 30 women arrive at the mansion having their first cocktail party, and all are shocked to learn that there are 3 bachelors this season, and they've all come in flashing an engagement ring, a shining beacon for this journey to find love and a genuine and long-lasting connection. So the stage is set, 3 bachelors, 30 women, and unlike the US version, every woman has had an opportunity to get to know their bachelor before night 1. Therefore, there is some repertoire and less drama about not having enough time to get to know the bachelor, especially early on in the show. Well, with the first night going, it's a proper cocktail party as the women are getting to know each other, and while Thomas and Jed are playing it safe, keeping the PDA to a minimum, Felix, well, he's picking up right where he left off with Tilly, and a lot of women aren't here for it. Felix just making out with Tilly in front of everyone even triggers a contestant, Ella, to head home immediately. So, well, -1 woman already for Felix. And as the show gets started, there is the format to discuss. There are group dates and single dates. However, if the women are on a group date that week, there is a twist. This means that they're up for elimination at the upcoming rose ceremony. As you can see, there are women who are sitting out of the rose ceremony here. And with the rose ceremonies, women get sent home, always thinning the herd as the 3 bachelors are narrowing down to the final pick. So we have a lot of dates going on, sometimes group dates with the other bachelors or separate group dates where one of the bachelors takes a group of women on a fun and special date. But again, if a woman is invited on a group date, she is at risk of elimination, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So let's talk about the mid-season drama of this season. Well, for starters, Tosh, one of Jed's love interests, tells Jed that one of Felix's women has, wait for it, a boyfriend. And this is where a lot of the storyline in this season was kind of triggering because, well, if this was the US version, having a boyfriend or someone back home waiting for you is a major sin on the show. Elimination would be a given, and it's really a reason to basically blacklist the contestant that did this because, well, they are ruining the vibe of the entire situation, which is to find a genuine love connection and be open to a real relationship. Well, the contestant that has a boyfriend is none other than Jessica from Townsville, and she was going to go on Felix's first one-on-one date, but the revelation of having a boyfriend back home makes Felix question why is she even here to begin with. But instead of sending her home right then and there, Felix tries to listen to Jess's reasoning, saying that she is in an open relationship with a man named Damien. Alright, I'll stop right there because this is where I think people were having such trouble with this, because it's such a sin on this show that of course we'd all be like, send Jessica home immediately. But Jessica spends the rest of the season basically talking around it and making excuses about it, saying that Jess and her boyfriend Damien are in an open relationship and she wants to explore other potential relationships, this being Felix. But as to who could be blamed for all this mess, it's ultimately up to Felix to make the decision to keep her around or send her home for having a boyfriend. And to the shock of everyone, Felix likes Jessica and he continues to give her roses week after week. And well, back to Tosh, who was an early frontrunner for Jed. She was someone on the show that was criticized for spilling the tea about Jess having a boyfriend, but because she gave off some mean girl vibes, the women in the house were defending Jess because, well, again, those mean girl vibes. And apparently Jess was going to tell Felix about her situation, but Tosh robbed her of that. Alright, I admit it's a lot to take in, that's for sure, because it just doesn't feel right at its core. But again, it was up to our bachelor Felix to send Jess home for violating one of the biggest sins on this show. So the blame lands on Felix. But Felix ends up hearing out Jess and he will eventually meet Jessica's boyfriend, Damien. But before we go there, let's switch to the other bachelors real quick. Jed is feeling pressure about Tosh being a semi-villain contestant. She told Jed about Jess and then she told the other girls about Jasmine's personal information and that Jasmine is actually going to switch bachelors. Jasmine wants to pursue Thomas instead of Jed because of Tosh, and eventually she lets him know this, and Thomas will eventually ask Jasmine to join Thomas's group of women. And this move pisses off 3 women. Tosh, CJ, and Marjorie quit the show over Jasmine switching sides, and Jed is actually shocked to learn that Tosh quit, but he soon furthers his connection with the women Alésia and Angela. Meanwhile, Thomas and contestant Kiki are really into each other, but there's an issue with these 2 lovebirds. Kiki has 2 children already, and Thomas thinks this is a deal breaker for him because he has admitted that he wants to have his own family, but he is still hoping that Kiki would want to have more children with him. But Kiki isn't so sure she wants to do that. And as we get closer to the ending of the show, more and more women are getting sent home. We have a shocking return with Tosh coming back to see if there is still something with Jed, but through pained feelings, Jed doesn't invite her back in and decides to focus on the women still there. And Jed is developing real feelings for both Alésia and Angela, so really it's between the both of them. Meanwhile, I have to admit, Felix is trouble. Despite knowing Jessica has a boyfriend, he ends up meeting Damien, the boyfriend, who shows up for one of the get to know the family and friends group dates, and it's a major distraction as the other women and even the other groups are distracted by the drama. But Jessica is wanting to move possibly beyond Damien, but Damien loves Jessica, but he wants to be chosen by her in the end of all this. And Felix, well, he supposedly feels bad for Jess, who has said that she is interested in polygamy. Alright, well, without getting fully triggered about this mess, again, it was up to Felix, who we hope is a rational actor, to shut down this hot mess. But no, he gives Jessica a rose week after week, even knowing that Jessica is in an open relationship at this moment. So essentially, Felix has become complicit in just having a boyfriend. Okay, so yes, that is a lot of drama, that's for sure. But Thomas, who I adore drinking his kombucha in the morning, is feeling it with Leah and a woman named Lauren too. But eventually, toward the end of the season, Thomas and Kiki hit that crossroads that she might not want to have more children. And despite having that unique and enduring connection, Kiki is ultimately sent home. Alright, let's talk about the finale and the ultimate winners of this season of the Bachelors Australia 2023. Felix having sent home his makeout buddy Tilly for not seeing a concrete future with her happens, and next he eventually sends home Crystal too, leaving him to choose between Abigail and her adorable cat Minnie, or Jessica who has a boyfriend. You'd think it would be an easy situation. I'm sorry, but we'll swing back to this conclusion at the end. With Thomas, his ending was an easy decision. Leah was his final pick, and he proposed to her, to which she said yes. Next, Jed has to choose between Angela or Alésia, and it was a shocking choice either way, but he ended up choosing Alésia, despite her family being a little apprehensive about their relationship. Jed even proposed to her despite Alésia telling him not to, but even though she says no to marriage, she says yes to a relationship. And lastly, Felix, he ends up breaking it off with our girl Abigail with her cute cat Minnie. And Abigail, who's been pretty frustrated with the whole Jessica and her boyfriend drama the whole season, handles herself pretty maturely, and they say goodbye to each other. So, to the shock of Bachelor Nation from every corner of the globe, Felix ends up choosing Jessica as his final pick, who conveniently broke up with her boyfriend Damien right before the finale. It was pretty intense. And well, her and Felix decide to enter into a supposedly monogamous relationship together. And after seeing the final picks, our jaws are dropping in disbelief that Jess was the final pick for Felix. And we soon learned that after the finale aired, Felix and Jessica broke up. Shocking, I know, especially when Jess brought her boyfriend Damien to meet Felix's family at the end of this. Also, after the finale, we learned that Thomas and Leah, despite being engaged, also broke up, citing that they were not compatible. Okay, are we about to strike out 3 times in one season? Well, not so fast, because as of February 23, Jed and Alésia are still together and they are going strong. So we had 1 success story out of the 3 leads. And that's the bite-sized conclusion of the Bachelors Australia Season 10, with a new format, a new filming location, and for the first time ever, 3 bachelors taking the lead. At this point, we have to ask ourselves, will there be a Bachelorette season with the runner-ups, Lauren, Angela, and Abigail taking the lead? Well, if there could only be one, I would vote for Abigail Harley to be the next Bachelorette of Australia, because she handled herself pretty well, despite the ridiculous circumstances about Felix and Jess and all that drama. And of course, I love her cute relationship with her calico cat Minnie. And what a season it was. It was my first Bachelor Australia season. I've seen the Bachelor in Paradise Australias, and despite the boyfriend drama with Felix and Jess, it was fun to watch, especially hearing the Aussie lingo and seeing the Australian fashion. And I really appreciated the cosmopolitan format, which was refreshing after seeing the same format for the United States for over 2 decades. So thank you for watching Whitney Alex Works' summary recap video of the Bachelors Australia franchise Season 10. Please subscribe here for more Bachelor Nation recap videos. I'll see you soon for another recap video down the road, so take care and thank you for tuning in.